Okay, dudes, I'm going to make a argument for a stronger state, and a lot of people think a stronger state equals Marxism. Before Marx, there was someone called Hobbes, and actually, um, Calvin and Hobbes. I have a tattoo of Calvin and Hobbes, but I mean Hobbes from that was actually named after Hobbes. That's a little bit of trivia about the comics, but Thomas Hobbes basically argued for a strong state. He was kind of the reverse of Locke at the time during the Enlightenment period in England and the UK and basically Western Europe as a whole. And he argued that a strong state is needed to prevent basically greed and monopolies was essentially the argument, and we see that now. You look at something like Amazon. Now, I'm fully aware if the government came in and, let's say, halved Amazon and had half state-owned, half Jeff Bezos owned still. Jeff Bezos is fine-tuned with that company, so his side of the company would still do better than the state-owned side. I 100% believe that. I don't think that's an argument against splitting the company into smaller companies for competition, and not just competition, but for worker rights. You see Jeff Bezos sitting on this monopoly now, and he has people with timed bathroom breaks. People are being monitored. I think there's actually like phones or watches that he's using to track people's footsteps at this point. So it's basically, if you read Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, Adam Smith praises at one point division of labor, which is essentially what Amazon is. It's one piece of a cog, it's one cog in a big machine. And he praises it for efficiency, and it gives way for people like Henry Ford and people with assembly line to come along. But he also later in the book heavily criticized it, making it apparent his belief was it's going to dull people, it's going to take the soul out of people, it's going to make people in themselves machines. And we've seen that with the way our society is formulated. People are more coming to participate in techno-feudalism online, which is basically what I'm doing now, rather than traditional workforce. Although in my particular case, I do have two jobs on top of this. But when we look at something like Amazon, when you're treated like a barcode and not a human being, and you have no way to express yourself, you have no way to really innovate yourself, it's basically what Jeff Bezos is doing is he has his own communist state within Western societies. It's separated from and protected from a lot of regulation. And I believe in the United States, corporations have actually previously been given the same human rights as actual individual people. So he has basically a state within a state, and it's very top-down authoritarian. It's communist in nature, really. Communist or fascist, whatever authoritarian type of government you choose to describe it as, it is that. And there needs to be either a way to break up his monopoly and have some of it government owned, so there's more. You see in a lot of liberal circles, fair trade. We're trying to make sure that people aren't exploited, farming chocolate and coffee and stuff. But within our own countries, we see that Jeff Bezos is getting away with exploiting his workers, which are Western participants in the labor force. So if they can't break it up in that way, which has been done before, I believe the Rockefeller monopoly was breaking up, and some parts of his monopoly was made government. And I'm not sure 100% what happened there. I'm not a historian, but it has been done in the past. Now, the other possibility would be a tax on capital gains, which a lot of people decry as a form of communism or socialism, which isn't fully articulating what it is. And if you are to tax for capital gains someone like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, they're not reinvesting that extra money actually into the economy or the company. You see not Elon Musk, you see Jeff Bezos with his super yachts. He's basically living like some sort of like comic book villain at this point, like the super rich with these yachts and submarines, the private islands, obviously with Jeffrey Epstein, etc., etc. And then we're kind of getting our services and housing shelled out. We can't afford rent anymore. There's no rental housing. There's no real future for anybody. People have to decide between food or rent. You can't really have both. You can have one. And frankly, if you look through history and you find an economic professor called Milton Friedman, which is a right-wing libertarian, he actually believes in getting rid of public schools and all kinds of slashing programs that way. Even Milton Friedman himself believed in a universal basic income. He wanted a universal basic income to replace forms of welfare, EI, and retirement pensions. He believed that people shouldn't be treated like a child going to collect welfare or disability. He believed that it was a human right to have that, and he did believe to get that by taxing the rich. So actually, you have somebody who was a professor, an economic professor, and he was an indirect advisor to Richard Nixon, very conservative guy. He was against Keynesian economics or whatever. I don't pronounce things properly. And he supported gold standard. He was very conservative, hardworking guy. He believed in work ethic, all that. He still believed in taxing the rich. He still believed in universal basic income. And we've kind of now been sucked into this kind of almost, I don't want to say fascist because it's not fascist. It's more of some sort of Christian nationalism where people are shamed if they don't do a certain amount of work, which seems to be the wrong idea. And it seems that way of thinking is actually closer to communism of the Soviet sense than having a shorter work week. Because you look at somewhere like North Korea, they're going to have like 70-hour work weeks. People are going to be in the coal mine. It's just direct oppression. And that's what you get if you believe that you're a sinner by not doing more work than your neighbor, and you're always in competition with everybody. But if we have somebody like Jeff Bezos who hasn't really produced anything of value in the last 10 years, he's kind of just coasting on something that he built, and he's on these yachts. Some people are saying he deserves that, but it's kind of it's almost like a perpetual childhood at this point. Like we need strong leaders, and he's living out like a second childhood after he's kind of had like a quick clever idea of this bookstore that went out of hand. So it's a fine-tuned balance between reward for innovation, and we want to incentivize people and not have them leave the country with jobs, but at the same time there needs to be protections in place. There needs to be a strong state that can break up monopolies and protect the American worker, and there's no reason why we can't have a 4-day work week. There's no reason why we can't have 6-7 hour days instead of 8-hour days. And there's no reason why wages can't go up. And it's beyond a minimum wage, because I don't know if a minimum wage is the best thing, because if you get into the trades, people aren't too keen on paying you a whole bunch if you don't know what you're doing. There needs to be an apprenticeship process through that. So I'm sure we can tweak minimum wages so they're different in different industries. Tax code could probably change in different industries. I know there's a shortage of doctors currently in Canada. We could probably lessen the tax on doctors and people that we need. Military forces can, instead of be making drones, we can repurpose some of the military to combat forest fires, and maybe have trade schools within the military and push people up the socioeconomic ladder through the armed forces in peacetime that way. So I think there is a lot to be done and said on the positive note of a stronger state that is left-leaning. I don't think Marxists have the answers, and I think Hobbes is a prototype to a stronger state. I don't think Marxist-Leninism is the answer, and I don't think Adam Smith has all the answers either. Marx was an elaboration and a continuation in many ways on Wealth of Nations. Adam Smith's work in the Wealth of Nations. Marx's main influence was Adam Smith. A lot of people don't know that. They disagree on many things. They've came to relevance at different time periods during capitalism. Marx saw more of people getting beaten down through menial tasks of day to day when people got wealthier on top. It's all stuff that needs to be thought out and explored. I don't think that limiting the free market is good. I think just repurposing some of the funds that we're getting is what needs to be thought out. I think early stages of mom and pop shops, small businesses, a lot of the regulations need to be cut, and a lot of bureaucracy needs to be cut there. Taxes on working class people. I think people that are making less than $30,000 a year should be paying zero in taxes. There's a lot of right-wing libertarian views that I do hold, but I also hold them simultaneously and supporting a stronger state and more of a left-leaning state, and not a left-leaning state in so much as giving free handouts, but more of a traditional union type of left. And that's kind of my thoughts on this. It was a bit of a ramble, but I had a lot that I had to unpack in this. I think I made some points. A lot of people are going to disagree with them, but that's kind of my feeling on this. I hope everyone's having a good day. I hope I get some likes, some comments, some subscriptions from this. I'm burping. Just had a chocolate bar. Anyways, peace out, everybody, and I hope everyone's doing well. Peace.